afternoon, lads and lassies. Irish Demon here, back with another video. Today we are going to be talking about a story that hit international headlines and maybe intergalactic headlines. Of course, we're going to be talking about aliens today. So this story is something that came up yesterday for me. Let's take a look at it. I'm just going to switch over so we can all read it together. So this one comes from NBC News. And it says, a former Israeli space security chief has sent eyebrows shooting skywards by saying that Earthlings have been in contact with extraterrestrials from a galactic federation. The unidentified flying objects have asked not to publish what they are. Humanity is not ready yet. Haim Eshed, a former head of Israel's Defense Ministry Space Directorate, told Israel's Yediot newspaper. The interview in Hebrew ran on Friday and gained traction after parts were published in English by the Jerusalem Post on Tuesday. A respected professor and a retired general, Eshed said that the aliens were equally curious about humanity and were seeking to understand the fabric of the universe. Eshed said cooperation agreements had been signed between species, including an underground base in the depths of Mars where there are American astronauts and alien representatives. There is an agreement between the US government and the aliens. They signed a contract with us to do experiments here, he said. Eshed added that President Donald Trump was aware of the extraterrestrials' existence and had been on the verge of revealing information, but was asked not to in order to prevent mass hysteria. Now, of course, we all know that Donald Trump likes to prevent mass hysteria. They have been waiting until today for humanity to develop and reach a stage where we will understand in general what space and spaceships are, Eshed said, referring to the Galactic Federation. The White House, Department of Defense, and Israeli officials did not immediately respond to NBC News' request for a comment. Eshed's ideas are spelled out in more detail in The Universe Beyond the Horizon, Conversations with Professor Haim Eshed, by Hagar Yani and published in November. We'll get back to that in just a minute. Eshed, who oversaw the launch of numerous Israeli satellites into space, said he was only speaking out now because of attitudes changing and people seeming to be more receptive. Quote, if I had come up with what I'm saying today 5 years ago, I would have been hospitalized, he told Yediot. Today, they're already talking differently. I have nothing to lose. I've received my degrees and awards. I'm respected in universities abroad. In May, Trump said, space is going to be the future, both in terms of defense and offense. We are now the leader of space, as he was presented with the official flag of the newly created military branch, the Space Force. Its focus, along with its Space Command, is on space and the military domain for the US, preserving satellites and communications, and a focus on geopolitics in the new terrain. The comment immediately spawned jokes and theories online. At least half a dozen accounts have been created on Twitter claiming to be representatives to Earth from the Galactic Federation. Other users have asked for preferential treatment and meetings with the group. All right, now let's have a quick chat about this. Okay, so first off, this guy is genuinely a very respected professor. He has an incredible track record of what he's done for, the space industry over the past few decades. But here's the problem. In part of this, he talks about his book. It's written by somebody else, but let me just find the name of the book. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, he talks about this book. This sounds to me like somebody trying to sell a book. That's my initial theory. If he was doing this for the good of humanity and releasing this information for, all of us to know what's going on, then I think he would have just released it and not gone with this whole, wait to check out my book kind of thing. That's the first thing. Then he talks about Donald Trump. Now, some of the language here, talking about Donald Trump and Space Command, I feel like a lot of it is being put there for people who aren't well up on the whole space thing. Because it sounds a bit kind of sci-fi. Like, for example, they quote him saying, Donald Trump saying, space is going to be the future, both in terms of offense and defense, okay? We're now the leader in space. That's not false. The United States is the leader in space travel and space flight and space equipment, etc. have been pretty much since the early days. Obviously, Russia kind of led the way at the start. China has had some awesome leaps in space flight and landing things on the moon. They've just planted a flag on the moon, landing things on Mars, putting things into deep space. So China have done really well. India have done really, really well as well. And Israel, obviously, with their satellite systems. Now, Space Force, when that all happened, people were automatically imagining, doom, 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 and like beep, 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 beep. But what it actually is, as it says in the article, it's just defending satellites for the most part. So recently, Russia and China have developed kinetic weapons that can be sent up into orbit to take out satellites. So what Space Force and Space Command do is they track all of that stuff to make sure that doesn't happen. On top of that, there is some treaties, but it's a little bit ambiguous about putting actual weapons into space. So, for example, a very famous one is called the Rods from the Gods. And what that is it's a kinetic weapon. There's no warhead as such. Essentially, it's a satellite that holds massive tungsten rods. And of course, tungsten has a really, really high melting point. So as it drops through the atmosphere at a very high rate of speed and then hits the Earth, it causes a massive catastrophic event without fallout, because it's not actually a nuclear bomb at all. It's literally a chunk of steel. Well, not steel, tungsten. It's a chunk of metal coming from space at an enormous rate. So essentially it kind of acts like a meteorite for all intents and purposes. So that's one of them. Other things are like, direct energy weapons, radio weapons, jammers, radar interference weapons, that kind of thing. And those things exist. We know they do. A lot of them are now kind of in the public domain, and people are aware of some of these things. They're needed though. If you think about it, if you put up a couple of $1 billion satellite that is there to protect us, it's part of the system of protection that we have in place up above our heads, and some other country or some people who has ill will towards you is trying to knock that out, then obviously you need to be able to defend that. We're not saying that there's space marines up there with space M16s. That's not the case. That's not what anybody is saying. So yeah, I feel like this is kind of a bit of a War of the Worlds kind of effect that they're trying to get here. Do I believe in extraterrestrial life? Well, I feel like there probably is something out there. We're talking about billions upon billions upon billions of planets. And even if 0.0000001% of all of those planets were in the Goldilocks zone, had the right atmosphere, the right size, etc., to support human-like life, or life as we know it, that's still millions of planets. The chances that that happened just here and nowhere else, in my opinion, is very slim. If you just look at the magnitude of how many planets, how many stars there are out there with so many planets orbiting them, some of them will be hot enough to melt steel. Some of them will be extremely cold, colder than anything we've ever experienced. But some of them are going to be right in that Goldilocks zone and could have liquid water, an oxygen-rich atmosphere, for example, and allow life to flourish as we know it. Now, perhaps there's different forms of life that we just don't know about yet. There's a lot of theories, silicone-based life forms, even just energy-based life forms, that kind of thing, that we're not 100%, or as Alex said, interdimensional aliens. We don't really know. We can give ideas all day long. But anyway, that moves us on to our next story. Now, this is a really interesting one that I've been following actually for a while. And this one is about these big metal monoliths that have appeared in Utah, California, and the Netherlands, and now actually in Great Britain as well. So these are really interesting, very strange. I'll tell you what I think they are, but here we go. So for those keeping track of the mystery of the monoliths, get your scorecards ready. Another of the curious structures has been spotted, this time in the Isle of Wight. Hello, Uncle Harry, who lives in the Isle of Wight, off England's south coast. The confounding compositions have been sparking intrigue since the 3-meter tall silver structure appeared among the red rocks of the remote southeastern Utah last month and was swiftly removed. Imitation structures sprang up in the Romanian forest and on a Californian mountaintop, and both disappeared as quickly as they arrived. Meanwhile, reports flooded in about a similar structure in the Netherlands this weekend. The most recent offering was spotted on Compton Beach on the southwest coast of the Isle of Wight on Sunday afternoon. My wife and I were walking our dog on our favourite beach and saw the monolith. Lee Peckham, a local resident, told CNN. We hadn't heard about it at all, but clearly others had, as there was lots of people coming down to look at it. But just like with the other mysterious structures, residents aren't quite sure where it came from. I don't know how it got there, and I'm not sure the locals have any good theories either, he said. It's more just quizzical amusement. And there it is right there. It's a very beautiful looking thing. Certainly the aliens have picked a gorgeous place for these structures. A spokesman for the National Trust, which owns the section of the beach where the monolith was erected, told CNN that the organization did not know who put it up. We were unaware of the monolith's presence until this morning, but now we visited Compton Beach and it seems secure on a wooden plinth and is made from mirrored sections of plastic or perspex material. We are still assessing it, so we have no immediate plans to remove it, but of course we need to monitor over the next few days to ensure the beach remains safe and does not become overcrowded. It is still unclear who's behind the erecting of the globe-trotting silver pillars, but a Santa Fe based art collective, Santa Fe, oh my god, Santa Fe, it's because of how the structure, whatever. A Santa Fe based art collective, The Most Famous Artist, had advertised a 3-meter structure for sale on its website for $45,000, now marked as sold. Interesting. CNN has emailed The Most Famous Artist to clarify if they were responsible for the Isle of Wight's monolith. Okay, well, look, I gotta just be straight and you know, clear about it. I do believe that this is just well, at least I did believe that this was just an art installation. But then I started to see more pictures show up that were really interesting. My brother lives in England, and he saw this story and he said, I was driving to work the other day and I saw some of these monoliths that you're talking about. I'm going to break this now and I'm going to give you guys an exclusive peek at these monoliths. Hold on to your hats. If you're afraid of aliens, don't look. Here goes. This one, and this one. Now, call me gullible, but that's too convenient. All of these monoliths just appearing everywhere. It's very strange. But anyway, lads and lassies, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know if there is aliens out there. I kind of hope there is. A lot of, you know, renowned professors and such say that it might not necessarily be a good thing for us, because I guess it's natural that we anthropomorphize things that we're not 100% sure of. So, for example, my dogs, I chat with them all day, and sometimes I stand there and I actually wait for a response. It's just a natural thing that happens. So I think we're expecting little green men who are friendly and, you know, enlightened. But in actual fact, they could be just a hive mind, parasitic, you know, race of super predator aliens that just need to, you know, take all our oxygen or all our water, or we don't know. We could just guess forever. But it's interesting. It's interesting to see. I hope that there is some kind of an amazing race of super aliens out there as we kind of, you know, picture them, who want to come down and give us this amazing technology and stuff. I'm not banking on it. As for UFOs, I think a lot of that is just unexplained natural phenomenon or military stuff. I'm sure the military has things that we have no idea about. I'm not talking about necessarily sci-fi type stuff, but, you know, fairly advanced stuff. All you got to do is look at super advanced aircraft now, and then you realize they were being developed as early as the 70s, when something like that would have looked like a spacecraft to a normal person. But anyway, lads and lassies, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. And yeah, let me know what you thought about the video. If you like the new format, it's not polished, obviously. It's got a long way to go. I'm going to be getting a bit of help from a friend over the next few days. But yeah, just let me know what you think. And thank you so much for stopping by. And we will catch you for the next one.